Good evening, everybody. I wanted to come to you guys live and unfortunately have to talk to you guys about the tragic events today that are transpiring in Afghanistan. Um, I felt the need to come on here. I was just watching our president, my my president, President Trump, 45 on Sean Hannity's show, and in what was some of the most reasonable speech language that I've heard coming from any member of leadership over the last 8 months is really disturbing, um, because he hit the nail on the head the entire time. He was talking about the unnecessary immediate pullout of all armed forces, U.S. troops in Afghanistan. Um, as I talked about yesterday, there was 25,000 troops as of April of last year, and there was a scheduled drawdown with a schedule for safely removing all U.S. troops, U.S. citizens, and allies. That means Afghani citizens who were helping the Americans the entire time. And and today we had a suicide bomb exploded just outside of the Kabul airport and killed. The DoD website is showing 13. Originally, it was being reported 12. It's showing 13 individuals, 13 service members. They don't yet have their names released. They don't have their ranks released. They only have them listed by branch right now. They're showing 2 Navy service members and 11 Marines. And it's such a complete and utter total fucking waste that this had to occur. It's an absolute shame. It's just disgusting that it had to occur, because we have a senile, incompetent individual sitting in the office, and you have people unfortunately running around our country that we're so happy to see this individual. And look what has happened in the last 8 months. Look what our country has come to in the last 8 months. You want to talk about division, you want to talk about separation. Let's talk about when it starts hurting people's pockets. Let's talk about when people's lives are being lost. Yeah, you know what? Our country has problems. We know that there are social issues that need to be addressed within our country. But you don't fix that by tearing it apart further. And what's being done now is our country is literally being ripped apart to its bones for no reason by an incompetent regime sitting in Washington. You've got Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and all of these other idiots like Nancy Pelosi that are sitting there, and they're so happy to have our country the way it was because it put them in power. Having this division amongst Americans put them in power. And now look what they're doing. You're paying more for gas. You're paying more for housing. You're paying more for food. You're paying more for milk, water. Everything has gone through the roof. Stocks have dropped. You've got unbelievable amounts of debt on the rise. You got a 261 trillion global rise in debt. And you have the president of the United States, Joe Biden, holding a press conference. Clearly he's incompetent. Clearly he is not in control. Clearly he doesn't know really what he's doing. His head is in his hands. He's announcing that he's been given a list of people he can call on to ask questions. And when he's being asked about the servicemen that were killed today, he turns his back and he's walking out. Such a disgrace. Our soldiers, our armed service members deserve better than what Joe Biden and his organization is giving to this country. It was completely unnecessary. There was no reason to have this loss of life. You had an organized drawdown. You had a schedule drawdown, what gave us more than enough time to get all American citizens out, all American service members, all Afghani allies out. And what does Joe Biden do? They announced they literally turned over a list of all Afghan allies over to the Taliban. And they're going to require that the Taliban turn them over to us so that we can get them out of the country. You just signed their death warrants. You're not going to get these people to the airports. Clearly, the situation there is getting out of hand. You didn't have this shit going on over there for the past couple years. You had President Trump keeping them in check. You had him making sure, he told them, I'll blow you off the fucking map. We have the largest, most advanced military in the world. We have the most well-trained service members in the history of this country. And he was prepared to unleash them on the Taliban should they step out of line. And they did not fucking budge. They didn't move their toes over because they knew that should they move the wrong way, there was a bullet coming straight for them. And what does Joe Biden do? Joe Biden gives them the fucking keys to the city. They literally were talking about today, it was $80 billion worth of assets, U.S. military assets that were left on the ground, that had organization and planning been done. See, I talked about this yesterday. You can't go in at the last minute and just start taking all of this shit out. It has to be done over a period of months, because it requires personnel and logistics. And there was a plan for all of that. And Joe Biden just walks in and says, boom, I'm pulling everybody out of here. And in a matter of weeks, the Taliban went from controlling 50% of the country to controlling 100% of the country. And now we have bombs being exploded just outside of the Kabul airport. Suicide bombers. You didn't have this shit going on when President Trump was in the office. They talked about it tonight. Bagram Air Force Base cost $10 billion. $10 billion to build. $10 billion taxpayer dollars to build. U.S. taxpayer dollars. $10 billion with a B. And now the Taliban is in control of it. They're walking down the streets with M4s and ARs. They're just doing whatever they want. And American service members are dying because of Joe Biden. President Trump was impeached in the House for a phone call where he supposedly was requiring an investigation from the Ukrainian president into Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and their dealings. He was impeached because of the phone call. I think it's fair at this point that we should be calling for the impeachment of Joe Biden for the murder of 13 service members, two Navy, 11 Marines. We should be calling for his resignation, and he should be under investigation and have articles of impeachment addressed in the House. But of course, they're in recess, and Nancy Pelosi won't call them back to the floor. They're all on vacation. It's a very, very sad, very upsetting thing that's happening. And I think more at a time like this, we as Americans, we need to voice our opinion. We need to be loud about our opinion. We need to do it the right way. We need to not do it in the same bullshit way that we complained about the riots and all the other bullshit where people's buildings and homes and places of business were being burnt. But we as Americans need to voice our opinion. We need to be loud and clear that we are calling for the resignation of Joe Biden. Now, I understand that what that means, that if we impeach Joe Biden, or if Joe Biden resigns, I don't think he's going to make it through his presidency. He doesn't appear that day to day, he doesn't appear that he could live more than 24 hours. Falling down, falling upstairs, shuffle steps, stumbling, bumbling, can't make a coherent sentence. Every speech he gives, it's like he's on the verge of just dying. So even if he does make it through the presidency, he should be impeached. But before that, he should do the honorable thing and he should resign. Now, what that means is that Kamala Harris would become the de facto president. What's funny about that is all these motherfuckers out there that thought it'd be a great idea to have Kamala Harris on the ticket. Why? Hey, I'm all for having a qualified anybody in office. I don't care if they're black, white, female, male. I don't care who they are. But everybody was so keyed up on making sure that we had Kamala Harris, or that they had Kamala Harris on this ticket. She has no previous qualifications whatsoever. She is fucking hidden. You don't hear from her. You don't see her. Apparently, there's a huge conflict between her and Biden right now. She refused to show up somewhere because Biden was being brought out before her, or some bullshit. Who the fuck knows? But if Biden resigns, it means Kamala Harris would become the president. And I don't think that would be much better. Hell, the people that apparently voted for her, people that voted for her popularity is down now below 50%. She was like sky high. You motherfuckers just had to vote for her. You guys just thought it was the best idea in the world to vote for her. Apparently 81 million people were voting for the Biden-Harris ticket, which is a fucking joke. But now you guys don't even trust the people that you put in office. You know, I put a poll out there yesterday on my Facebook and Instagram page, and I just asked 4 questions. I said, would you fight or die for your country? If the answer was no, what would you be willing to fight or die for? If, have you served? And then I just asked for some people to, if they've served, some general memories of their service. And I got, of course, hundreds of responses, but overwhelmingly the majority, it was something like maybe less than 10% of people said that they would not be willing to fight or die for their country. That's normal. I'm not surprised by that. I did talk about it. I thought that the number was probably closer to 70% of Americans that would fight or die for their country. Based on that poll, I don't know. It's people from across the country. There's I have people from all over the country, all over the world on both Instagram and Facebook. And the number was about 10% of people that would not fight or die for their country. The second question I asked, if you wouldn't fight or die for your country, what would you fight for? And of course, I did make a joke. I said family, and then the other one was tacos. And of course, a similar portion of the people that said they wouldn't fight or die for their country also voted for tacos. So it was obviously that was meant as a joke, but it was kind of half-hearted, because my insinuation is that basically it's fucking pathetic if you're not willing, if you don't have something in your life that you're willing to fight or die for. Everybody should have something. Everybody should have something in their life that they're willing to fight or die for. And if it's not your country, usually it's your family. You would die trying to protect your family. And the number of service people who actually served, it's about right. You're looking at about probably less than 20% of the overall population out there has actually served, which is pretty accurate. And that was the same thing that showed up there. And obviously, I asked these questions prior to the tragedy that took place today in Afghanistan. But it's a sad, sad fucking state of affairs, guys, that we're seeing this. We're only 8 months into his presidency. 8 fucking months. You realize we got another 3 years and 4 months to go of this shit. Inflation's at an all-time high. Gas prices are through the fucking roof. When Trump was in office, gas here in Texas was like $2.30. It was, in some places we saw it go as low as like $1.90. You go to California now, in some places it's over $6 per gallon. Texas, I filled up my car today. It was like $3.60 per gallon in my car. Your dollar doesn't go as far as it used to go. Everything has increased. Why? We have, because we've been giving out trillions of dollars. You know, I guess that's what it took. I guess that's what made a lot of you guys happy, is you got all this free fucking money. You had the government handing over all this money, and it made everybody happy. I know I make a lot of jokes about like OnlyFans, but you know what? Hey, that's commerce. People want to go on there and they want to do a job and they want to sell a service and people are willing to pay for it. Hey, that's great. That's awesome. It's a lot better than people collecting fucking unemployment, which is what was happening because there was so much more. There were so many more incentives to staying unemployed than there actually was to get out there and get a fucking job. And everywhere you turn, there are people that are hiring. Left and right, people are hiring. I know at my company we've been steadily hiring. Every company out there is hiring. But things are costing more because inflation is increasing. Free money actually costs something. You can't just print money. It dilutes the money. And I hope you guys fucking understand that. I hope you understand what's been done. That if you got 10 people in a room and only one person has a dollar bill, that dollar bill is pretty fucking valuable because everybody in that room wants a dollar. But if there's 10 people in that room and there's $10 bills out there, 10 $1 bills, every single person's got a dollar bill in their pocket, it doesn't hold as much value. You could trade, if only one person has a dollar bill, that the value of that dollar goes a lot further. That person who does have that dollar is able to barter and get a lot more for his dollar. But when everybody has the same exact dollar, then it's a dollar and that's it. And that's what this has really done. And yeah, I understand people need to pay bills and things like that, but there are jobs. There are jobs out there. People are hiring. And this country is falling apart from within simply based on the fact that everybody now is fucking scared. And it sucks. And I get it. I understand it. You got families, you got people to feed and all this other stuff. But fuck, you got to look at the bigger picture. I talked about this and I talked about sacrifice. I have made immense sacrifices in my life for the long-term gain. I have made sacrifices for my family for the long-term gain. And unfortunately, what you see is you see a lot of people that want short-term gain. And they don't realize that it costs them in the long run. Take an athlete. Take them out of the picture. They're not competitive. Yeah, they can go train, things like that, but say they're injured, they're on the sidelines. The longer they stay out of the game, the harder it is for them to get back in it. There is a long-term loss to that. They can still be athletic, they can still run, they can still jump, but overall their performance is lower and lower and lower. And that's what's happening to our country. Statistically, the performance out there is way lower than what it was back in 18 and 19 and 20. Because money's just being given out there. And so you don't have to work as hard. When you got free money being given to you, you don't have to work as hard. You're not willing to sacrifice and hustle and struggle to get the things you need. I'm not talking about fucking stealing. I'm not talking about selling drugs. I'm talking about getting out there and working hard, working those extra hours so that you can earn. And that's what's being lost. It's not just about one thing. There's a huge fucking picture. And what is occurring is that we are becoming dependent on the government instead of the government becoming dependent on us. And we as the citizens are allowing that shit to fucking happen. And it started with everybody thinking that the orange guy who tweeted mean shit was bad for this country because your feelings got fucking hurt. I got a lot of friends, a lot of people that I do talk to this day that voted for Biden simply because they didn't like Trump as a person. Not because they didn't have more money in their pocket. Not because they weren't able to buy bigger houses or bigger cars while he was in office. Not because their stocks weren't increasing, but because he said mean shit. That's fucking disgusting. And what that says to me about a lot of these people is they don't know how to fucking lead. They don't know what it takes to lead and to sacrifice and put yourself out there and do the hard shit so that there's a long-term gain for more than just yourself. These are selfish individuals that thought, I only want this guy gone because he's mean. Well, guess what, motherfuckers? Look what you got now. You got American citizens being killed on foreign soil. Trump was trying to pull everybody out, but he was doing it organized. He was doing it with a plan, and he was doing it while keeping the Taliban in check. There ain't no fucking country out there that's afraid of Joe Biden. They're not afraid of him. Everybody was afraid of Trump, and that may not sound good, but God damn it, it kept our fucking country safe. It kept our servicemen and women safe. The deaths, the losses of our servicemen and women were at an all-time low under Trump. Because the world was afraid to fuck with America again. We weren't Obama where we drew a line in the sand and then let somebody cross it and then we drew another line and then said, well, this now, it's no longer just a line, it's a red line and don't cross that red line. Well, fuck, they crossed the first two. They don't think you're going to do shit about the third one either, which he didn't. Well, when Trump came into office, he says, no, motherfucker. We're going to push you back over that red line. And if you step outside of that fucking box, we're going to blow you up. We're going to get our servicemen and women home safely. And if you step out of line, we're going to fuck you up. And what does Biden do? He just takes everybody out. Just pulls everybody back. And it throws the entire country into fucking chaos. A terrorist regime now has control of an entire country. And guess what? Afghanistan sits on the largest lithium deposit in the world. Where's our country, where's our technology going? Batteries. Energy. Stored in batteries. What's the current technology right now for making the most effective batteries? Lithium. So we hear it all the time, lithium-ion batteries. And Afghanistan has the largest fucking deposit. And guess who sits right next to Afghanistan? China. All of our allies now in the region are at risk. All of our allies. India, Pakistan, the Maldives, Thailand, Vietnam, Taiwan. All of our allies in the area are now at risk. Because China now has a free fucking pass directly into Afghanistan and the largest lithium-ion deposit in the world. Well, lithium-ion is a battery, but the lithium deposit in the world. There's a bigger fucking picture out here, guys. It's not just about having the nice president in office. It's not just about that. There are bigger fucking things on the world stage. And you people being selfish and only thinking about you are just as fucking guilty for what's happening right now. I don't want, I saw something the other day. This guy, he's a proud Biden supporter, and people were asking him questions, and he says, and somebody said to him, well, why don't you give me some gas money? Well, that is socialism. I don't want you to give me my fucking gas money. I don't need money from you. I'm willing to go out there and work and earn for it. My family is willing to go out there and work and earn our living. What I want is, I want my fucking market to stabilize, and I want the gas prices to be back at an area that is affordable for the average American so that they can go on vacation, so they can drive down the road, so they can drive to work and not have to worry about draining their fucking bank accounts. This bullshit about the $15 living wage. How's that working out? If you are getting $15, your gas costs more now. Your food costs more now. Your rent costs more now. You got your $15, but everything else went up. You guys don't fucking think about that. There are ramifications to all of these things. And unfortunately, these actions and the things that you guys did and the person you voted into office today resulted in the loss of 13 American citizens. And it's unfucking acceptable. We as Americans should not accept that. We as Americans should be on our fucking toes screaming for Joe Biden to resign, for Kamala Harris to leave. It is a fucking joke what is happening there. The same thing applies apparently. Apparently borders and walls don't work unless they're around Washington, D.C. Unless they're around the Capitol building, apparently that's the only fucking time that walls work. This administration is a fucking joke. You have sleepy Joe Biden out there advocating for all businesses across the board to mandate the vaccine. But you're letting people come across the border unchecked and not vaccinating them. They're just coming into the fucking country. You want to vaccinate American citizens, but you're not forcing illegal immigrants to come in here that are coming in here to get vaccinated. Thank God a federal judge stepped in and reinstated the stay in Mexico policy. If you guys don't know what that means, is while Trump was in office, what it meant was that if someone was caught and they weren't sent back, while they were being detained, they were held and sent straight back to Mexico. They were checked, they were investigated, and sent straight back to Mexico. What does Biden do? Immediately takes that shit away and starts allowing everybody who's fucking caught to just freely flow back into the United States. They're checked, they're registered, put in a database, and they're told, hey, come back for a court date. And they never fucking come back. Now, federal judge reinstates the stay in Mexico policy. If you're caught, they send them right back across the border. They don't hold you over here. They put you back. You just go straight back across the border. I get it. People are trying to come here and they want to try to live a better life. And I'm all for that. I'm all for it being done legally. But living here in Texas, it's a real fucking thing. People just pouring across the borders. It happens in Arizona. It happens in California. People just freely come across the fucking border. They're unchecked. You don't know who they are. You don't know if they're just Mexican citizens trying to come here and live a better life. You don't know if they're people from other countries that have come through Mexico trying to get in here. You don't know if they're on terrorist watch lists. You don't know if they're violent criminals that were released, like what Cuba did back in the 70s, when they opened up their borders and they opened up all the prisons and they let all the violent criminals out. And all those people flooded into the United States. And what happened down in South Florida was a massive fucking crime wave. I know you can watch it, what happened at the beginning of the movie Scarface. That shit's actually fucking real. It's not just part of a movie. That's real. We have in this country for Cuban nationals that come over here called wet foot, dry foot. I'm not sure if that's, I don't mean that in any derogatory term, but it's called wet foot, dry foot. And what that means is if the U.S. Coast Guard catches anybody coming from Cuba in open water, they get turned back. But if anybody makes it onto U.S. soil, I don't give a fuck if they just get their hands on a pillar to a bridge in the water down in the Keys. They're touching U.S. soil. They're automatically granted access into the United States. They go through checks and balances, and typically most of them stay down in South Florida. I spent a lot of time down in South Florida, and I can tell you the Cuban population down there is amazing. They're beautiful, wonderful people. Mexican population here in Texas, they're beautiful, wonderful people. So I'm not talking about getting rid of immigrants because that's not what our country's about. We were built by immigrants, and we need immigrants in this country. They're having that cultural that build and that interweaving of these cultures is an amazing thing. It makes our country better. And I don't care if you're coming from India or Pakistan, or if you're coming from Iraq or Iran, or you're coming from Israel, or you're coming from Saudi Arabia, anywhere. Having those cultures here makes our country better. But we have to maintain some checks and balances. And if you're going to put restrictions on American citizens who've been paying, I've been paying fucking taxes now for 20 years. Since I was 18 years old. Well, 21 years. I'll be 40 in a few months. So going on 22 years, I've been paying taxes in this country. And yet I'm restricted. I'm being given restrictions when people coming to this country that don't pay taxes, that aren't U.S. citizens, they're not held to those same standards, and it's not fucking fair. And President Trump made sure that Americans came first. He made sure that the American citizens came first, that we were allowed the freedoms that are granted under the Constitution of the United States of America. Everybody thinks that we're a republic. No, we're we're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. Democracy is a way that we govern. The constitutional republic is actually the form of government that we have here in the United States. Constitution. It's not democracy. It's actually a constitutional republic. And President Trump made sure that we as Americans were protected by that. It's just sad. It's really sad. It's really upsetting. Because I have a lot of friends, a lot of family who served, and to see them feel the way they're feeling right now is upsetting. You join the armed forces. It's a brotherhood. It's for life. These are people. They may not have. I've got very close friends that are Marines, and they may not know the 11 Marines that died over there, but they're Marines. You're never going to hear somebody say that they're retired, a retired Marine. They were a Marine. It's clear that if they're in their 60s, they're no longer active duty. They just say they're a Marine. You hear people in the Navy say they're retired from the Navy, retired from the Air Force. Marines just simply say they're a Marine. It's the smallest branch of the military. About 256,000 members. That's it. When you have like 2 million in the Army, it's a huge fucking difference. But this is a brotherhood of people that a small portion of our population ever commit to. And it doesn't matter if they left the service 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 30 years ago. Their brothers died today. And we as Americans lost 13 American citizens today. We should be ashamed that we allowed this to happen. We as Americans are the problem. We allowed this to happen. We have allowed our government to scare us into compliance when it should be the other way around. Our government should be the ones that are scared of its citizens. You're there to serve us, not yourselves. You are there to make the American people better, not enrich your own families. Your job is to take care of us, serve us, the American citizens. Your job is not to line your pockets with special interest and lobbyist money and bank on getting a big fat check job when you leave. You're there to make our lives better. And all you have done is made us a weaker country. You have killed our servicemen and women. You should be ashamed of yourselves. We as Americans should be ashamed of ourselves that we allowed it to happen. We have to do better. We have to be better. America is not perfect. We have problems. There are many things that we can do better as Americans. But we do it together, not divided, together. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I love you all. I want better for this country. I want better. I want better for my friends. I want better for my family. I want better for my children. It's not about today. It's about tomorrow. We need to really learn the term delayed gratification. Something that was instilled in me over the last 10 years. Nothing worth having comes easy. It takes time, work, and effort. Delayed gratification. You guys need to remember that. So, thank you all very much. I appreciate it. And probably won't come to you guys tomorrow. I'll be going out of town. Like I talked about, doing the end of the summer vacation. So, thank y'all. And I'll probably, depending on what this hurricane does and when it makes landfall, Ida, I think's the name. Depending on what it does, maybe come to you guys on Monday or Tuesday of next week. And I'm deploying people out there. We've already started staging assets and everything, getting it ready. So we will be responding to the hurricane whenever it makes landfall. I'll be out there helping people get their lives back together, their homes back together. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you very much. I love you. And wherever you guys are in the world, please be safe. Hug your kids, hug your mother, hug your father, your brother, your sister. Tell somebody you love them, because you just don't know when it's going to be your last day. Just take that time. Goodbye.